On behalf of the North Carolina Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, thank you for your interest in the 2024 Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. This presentation will provide you with basic information about the plan, what activities have been completed, what is yet to come, and how you can participate throughout the remaining months of the project. The first question we will answer today is, what is a Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan? For simplicity, we'll use the phrase Coordinated Plan or the Plan moving forward. The primary goal of the Coordinated Plan is to improve mobility and transportation for persons living within the Campo region. This includes all of Wake County, as well as portions of Chatham, Franklin, Granville, Harnett, and Johnston counties. The plan includes a transportation needs assessment with a focus on historically transportation disadvantaged populations, such as older adults, persons with disabilities, and low-income individuals. When complete, the plan will guide funding and service decisions for transportation projects and better coordinate public transit and human services transportation. The last coordinated plan was updated in 2018. Some of the recommendations in that plan included expanded public transit service hours, better coordination between public transit services, new services such as microtransit and on-demand programs, and funding for vehicles for programs provided by social and community service organizations. A coordinated plan is important because it must be updated regularly in order for projects to be eligible to qualify for specific grant programs under the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA. We are currently several months into the development of the 2024 Coordinated Plan, so the next question we'll address is, what's happened so far? One of the first activities of the project was the review of prior studies and reports for their relevance to the Coordinated Plan update. We looked at findings and recommendations from those reports to determine which, if any, should be explored further for inclusion in the 2024 Coordinated Plan update. Technical Memo 1 included a review of 17 such studies and reports. The next activity was outreach to stakeholders throughout the Campo region. A stakeholder is someone who can provide information about a group or population rather than an individual. Most of the stakeholder outreach took place between January and March 2024. It included outreach to nearly 450 contacts in two categories: human services stakeholders and transit operator stakeholders. Stakeholders were invited to complete a survey through which they could provide valuable input about the populations or groups they work with. Examples of stakeholders include social service organizations, healthcare providers, educational institutions, transportation programs, disability organizations, senior centers, and churches and other faith-based groups. Stakeholder outreach was followed closely by community outreach. In February 2024, we launched a community survey that was available online via a series of 17 in-person pop-up events held across the Campo region or through participating stakeholders. We also launched a web page with links to the survey in English and Spanish, as well as key project information. The purpose of community outreach was to obtain information about individual mobility or transportation challenges. So, what are the next steps in the project? Now that we've collected a lot of data, it's time to start processing it. The first step is to document the current transportation services and programs operating within the Campo region in Technical Memo 2. For this activity, we're drawing on information provided by stakeholders as well as other research conducted by our team. This step is important because it provides a baseline of what services are currently available, which we will compare to identified transportation needs in a later step. We also need to document the project's engagement with stakeholders and the community. Technical Memo 3 includes a summary of all of the information we received from the stakeholder and community outreach activities. It will include a summary of each question included in the surveys, a description of all of the outreach activities conducted, and all comments received throughout the outreach process. In Technical Memo 4, we'll conduct a needs analysis. This is where we look at any transportation and mobility needs identified through the review of reports and studies that have not already been addressed, as well as those identified through the public outreach and through staff and consultant observations and input. In Technical Memo 5, we get to compare the needs that have been identified to the transportation programs identified earlier to determine where there are service gaps. For example, there may be a geographic area that is not served by transit, or a time of day when people commonly need to travel but no transit service is available. Or there may be a human services transportation program providing service, but only certain populations are eligible. This is the step where we identify these issues. We'll also look to see if there are areas where services overlap to determine if there is any way to move some of those resources to address other areas where there are gaps. Once all these things are in place, we'll begin developing strategies to address the transportation needs and service gaps. This is Technical Memo 6. The end result will be a blueprint for implementation that Campo and its transportation partners can use to help prioritize funding and decision-making over the coming years. The final result of the process will be the 2024 Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. It will combine all of the various pieces we've discussed into a single cohesive report. The draft final report will be presented to Campo's Mobility Coordination Committee, the Transit Planning Advisory Committee, and the Technical Coordination Committee prior to finalization. The public will also have an opportunity to comment on the report before it is finalized and presented to Campo's Executive Board for approval and endorsement. While several of the participation opportunities have already concluded, there are still ways to be involved in the coordinated plan process. The project webpage contains information about the coordinated plan process and is regularly updated. Visit it at publicinput.com/coordinatedplan2024. You can also submit a comment via the webpage and view the draft final report when it becomes available. Finally, encourage others to participate in the process, because the more input we receive, the better the plan reflects the needs of the Campo region as a whole. But don't wait to participate. The project ends in June 2024. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the 2024 Coordinated Plan process. We hope to hear from you soon.